Hello and welcome to yet another lesson. Today's lesson will be about identifying what robs your peace consistently and learning how to dismantle their power over your happiness. Let's look at the learning objectives for today. Firstly, we'll learn how to become your own therapist and a 10-step self-therapy formula to help heal yourself from limiting thought patterns. Secondly, we'll be talking about disabling your unhealed pain, trauma, or shame from your past. So let's start with how you can become your own therapist. A 10-step self-therapy formula to heal yourself from limiting thought patterns. The idea of going to therapy can be daunting to many. It can feel like admitting that you're not as strong as you want to be, that you need constant help and support, that you're damaged and dependent on others to sustain yourself. What if you can't afford one? Or what if you're just not comfortable or ready to talk to someone about your personal issues? Fortunately, there are things you can do to begin working through your psychological issues on your own. What if you're able to develop a fine skill to provide basic ongoing therapy for yourself in line with the professional recommendation? What if you could become your own therapist? And there's a disclaimer here. While it is not recommended to continue with serious mental health and psychological issues without accessing trained professional help, you can absolutely start and maintain the healing process by becoming your own therapist for numerous common psychological issues. The following 10-step formula for self-therapy is an amalgamation of effective principles and techniques from various psychological therapy approaches over the past several decades. Step 1. Writing your timeline of self-awakening events from childhood till date. In an earlier lesson entitled Self-Awakening Events and Their Impact on Your Life Purpose, you completed this part of the process by noting all significant events which impacted you from early childhood till date and mapped it across each decade of your lived life. Step 2. What are your struggles at the moment? What common areas of struggle do you face, which tend to be mentioned as below? Firstly, negativity to self is a common one. You may feel you're doubting yourself constantly, self-critical, don't feel good enough, or have a fear of taking any risk with markedly low confidence. Another one is fear of change. You may feel anxiety, teeth-grinding habits, panic attacks. You don't like changes to your schedules and routine, and you may feel you are hyper-vigilant. Another one is low motivation or drive. You may have a general lack of motivation, self-neglect to varying degrees, caught in destructive behavior patterns like alcoholism or chronic addictive habits, and may be depressed every now and then. Another one is being a doormat for others. This may manifest with you accepting toxic behavior of others, devaluing your own needs, talking yourself down regularly, and being too patient when you should be confronting, let's say, bullying and abusive behaviors. Another one is lack of strong personal identity. You may feel unheard or unrecognized for all your efforts, and you may not feel like you have an independent identity of your own. You may feel like an extension of someone else. Example, I am the spouse of this person. Any other struggles as well. Your issue may be something else apart from these common ones, but make sure you note the theme of your issue or struggle at this stage of step 2. Step 3. How does your self-awakening events explain your current issues? How did any of the self-awakening events you had noted from before affect your struggle today? How do you find them to be related to each other in terms of patterns? Fourth one, what is your desired state in the future? Note down what would be the markers of good improvement to your struggle and prioritize them from 1 to 3. Here are a few examples to get you started. Being able to be vulnerable again, be able to trust again, to laugh heartily again, to feel completely free, to have no strong feelings of anxiety or stress, to feel excited about your future can be a goal, to look forward with hope at what will happen in the next few years, to feel attractive and desirable again, to feel confident in yourself and your self-image again, to feel able to take risks and not be bound by fears of doing something new. Situational changes, to be able to afford a holiday, to be able to be your own boss, own a home, etc. Then you move on to step number 5, identifying negative thought patterns. Most of us have experienced negative thoughts at one time or the other. Maybe you beat yourself up for not being good enough, or ruminate on all the ways things could go wrong. These are examples of unhelpful thinking patterns, and they can have a snowball effect of negativity on your life. Unhelpful thinking patterns keep you stuck in negative emotions like anxiety, hopelessness, pessimism, unhealthy contentment, depression, or anger. They can distort your perception of current reality and make it hard to make positive changes in your life. There are many different types of unhelpful thinking patterns, but some common ones include all or nothing thinking. You could see things in black and white terms without any shades of grey. For example, you may tell yourself you're a failure if a relationship had failed. Overgeneralization. You tend to view a single bad event as part of a bigger picture and pattern of failure. For example, you may tell yourself you'll never find a partner because you've been single for a long time. Disqualifying the positive. You dismiss the positive and only focus on the negative. For example, you may tell yourself that your good grade on a test doesn't count because you didn't actually study enough. Mind reading. You assume you know what others are thinking and it's always negative. For example, you may tell yourself that everyone in the party thinks you're boring and unattractive. Fortune telling. You predict the future and it's always negative. For example, you may tell yourself that you'll never get the lifestyle you actually dream of. Rumination, perfection, catastrophizing minor mistakes are other examples of unhelpful thinking patterns. You need to, at this stage, note down some common thought patterns which occur to you regularly and shape your attitude to life. What are its direct effects if you let them grow? For one, unhelpful thinking patterns can lead you to make poor life decisions. If you're constantly doubting yourself or seeing the worst in every situation, you're not likely to take risks, dream big visions, or work towards or seize opportunities. You may even avoid making huge decisions altogether. Unhelpful thinking patterns can also make us feel bad about yourself. If you're constantly comparing yourself to others or beating yourself up for your every mistake, it's no wonder you will feel inadequate or unworthy. These thoughts can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, leading you to believe that you're perhaps not good enough like others. And finally, unhelpful thinking patterns can hinder your ability to cope with stress or adversity. If you're constantly dwelling on the negative events from the past, catastrophizing each and every little thing that goes wrong, you're not giving yourself the mental space to process your emotions or to develop a healthy coping strategy. This can lead to a vicious cycle of stress and anxiety down the road. After you've done this, we move to step number 6, conscious awareness of your thought patterns. Pay attention to the thoughts that pop into your head when you're feeling down or stressed. Write them down or make a conscious mental note as if someone made a statement to you and you wish to acknowledge it and carefully consider it. Make a determination whether the thoughts identified are helpful or harmful to your mental health and confidence. The thoughts that you feel are helpful, make a commitment to purposely think more of them during times of negativity. Then this brings us to number 7, which is about reframing the negative thought stream. If they're harmful, try to reframe them in a more positive light. For example, instead of thinking, I'm such a failure, try, I made some mistakes, but I'm learning from them. Or instead of thinking, I'll never be good enough, try, I'm doing the best I can. It may sound cheesy, but these small changes can make a huge difference in how you feel about yourself. You may need to write down some reframing statements for yourself to tell yourself during these moments when you do need them. If the negative thoughts are intrusive in nature and you're unable to merely replace them with the reframing thoughts at the time, try to separate yourself physically from the space you're in. Retreat to a quiet space if possible, and then read from your handbook your statements which you have identified as true to fact and logic, and repeat them for yourself slowly and firmly. Breathe in slowly and purposefully in between each statement, and let each reframing thought register repeatedly in your mind. That brings us to step number 8. Practice gratitude. The next step is to practice gratitude. When you focus on all the negative aspects of our lives, it's easy to forget about the good. But taking the moment to appreciate the things you do have, even the small things that are going well for you at the moment, it can help shift your focus and give you a more positive outlook on life in general. Brings us to point number 9. Reward yourself for every small victory over an intrusive and negative thought pattern. Commit yourself to giving yourself a treat and a reward to recognize your improved awareness of being more present in the moment and accepting your thoughts and feelings without judgment and knocking yourself down for even having them. Celebrate your new ability to acknowledge your thoughts and emotions without letting them control you. The final step is disrespecting your negative thought patterns with an action. There is nothing more powerful to strike down the influence of a negative and toxic thought pattern than by committing to and carrying out an action. Remember the key words is an action, which is directly opposite to what the thought was telling you. Similar to the flooding method in psychotherapy, you need to willfully determine one action which will aggressively confront the thought pattern you're addressing. For example, if your problem thought is that you're not attractive enough and you feel yourself constantly comparing yourself to others, apart from reframing thoughts and the statements you have used, go and invest in a professional makeover for yourself in a good salon. Get a professional photo shoot done of yourself and place the very best shots framed in gold in your hallway. Those thoughts will weaken drastically with that power action, which will additionally give you a boost to your self-confidence in taking back control of your thoughts. Then let's talk about disabling unhealed pain, trauma, or shame from your past. If you're struggling with unhealed pain, trauma, or shame from your childhood or past, you're not alone. Maybe you've had an abusive parent or caregiver, maybe you were bullied, or maybe you had experienced something deeply traumatic. Perhaps you were verbally or physically abused as a child. Maybe you witnessed violence in your home or community, or expressed some other form of trauma that has left you feeling pain, shame, and anxiety. It's estimated that about 60% of adults have experienced some sort of trauma in their lifetime. That means there's a good chance you too have experienced some form of trauma. Many people carry these wounds with them throughout their lives, never fully healed. Whatever the case may be, it's important to know that you can heal from this pain and move on with your life. If you're carrying around unhealed trauma, it can be difficult to live a happy and fulfilling life. You may find yourself struggling with relationships, feeling disconnected from others, or numbing your pain with unhealthy coping mechanisms like drugs and alcohol. You can now apply the 10-step formula for self-therapy to your identified situation and circumstance and map out what your steps would be and how they would look like when you resolve them through an healthy manner like this. I wish you the very best as you do that and heal yourself. I thank you for being with me in this lesson, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.